Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Man Art Creations. We're going to do a little preseason scouting. We're going to hit out like we typically do, third season. We're going to be hunting Southwest Colorado again. We did Northwest last year. Didn't do any better than we do in Southwest, so we're going to go back to Southwest Colorado because it's closer. Less drive. And we've been hunting for about 15 years, so we got a better feel for it. Those areas where in 15 years, we haven't even scratched the surface on the amount of territory that we could hunt. So we decided to take a little time and go hit some of the areas that we've always thought about looking at, but we never had time during the hunt. So we went out and put little boots on the ground. And Colorado has a really cool tool, and it's called Colorado Hunting Atlas, where you can get the overlays of all kinds of different wintering areas, wintering concentrations, and the migration routes, public land, private land boundaries. Depending on the time of the year you're going to hunt, you can decide where best to try to concentrate your efforts, particularly your scouting efforts. And since we hunt the third season, it's pretty late in the year. Typically, most years the migration's already started, so we hunt lower elevation migration corridors. Concentration, which is the hashtag, the blue vertical lines. Wintering area is the light blue, and then the red, whatever you want to call that, is migration corridors. Not up for us. I'll do a whole video on how to use this and some other tools for e-scouting. But this just give you an idea of what we were looking at. We've been hunting around Pagosa Springs for years, but we've never gotten north up in this 77 area. And you can see some big migration corridor here, and big wintering concentration. I was like, man, we need to go check that out. We've never been there. And then we also went up close to Wolf Creek Pass up here, where you can see where the migration starts, coming out of the wilderness down to the high elevation, and then it funnels down to the south and west. Now we typically been hunt down further down to this. If we catch it right, there's some snow up high. They're going to be moving through here. And the trick then is to find a spot away from some of these roads. You might have to hike into a little bit and get away from some of the crowds, of course. But it's Colorado and it's over-the-counter elk tags, so it is what it is. But if you do a little walking, you don't mind climbing a hill or two, you can find some hidden spots in these migration corridors, and you can get into some elk. We've done it before. We're planning on doing it again. Anyway, let's go down the video and show you what we found, what we looked at. Yeah, on a big scouting trip into Colorado. Preseason scouting. There's Tater Master. The Master Tater. And there's our humble little camp. We were using our tent cots, which are for summer and fall are pretty good. I mean, it was 40s when we woke up in the morning, got up to about 80. Pretty comfortable. Plus, being mobile, trying to scout as much area as we could break our camp and be on the road in 10 or 15 minutes with those things. So you can check them out. Got a link down below. But if you're doing any kind of camping in a warmer climate, they're pretty good. In the winter, I wouldn't recommend it. We had a cozy campsite, and we ate pretty good. Remember, we were scouting. We weren't seriously hunting. We were hunting for locations. And Mr. Jared go right there with his little baby ribeyes he found, and a little bit of adult beverage to go along with it. Overlanding. Yeah. Just a crack of fresh ground pepper.
Yeah. Would you like some?
Man, those steaks smell good.
Dude, don't they? That charcoal smells good. It's got that lump.
Yeah, I was just went to HEB's. I needed charcoal.
Now you can see where we're taking a little walk up the hill, found the old logging road. It's a trail that we've hunted the lower levels before, but it goes way on up to the top of the mountain and around and the backside. And so we wanted to explore and see what was further up the trail. Of course, the trail almost washes out because it hasn't been used in years. But we found some deer, as you can see. Found some ponds. Lots of tracks, a lot of sign. I mean, of course, a lot of old sign. But obviously, deer. This time of year, deer are down in here. Elk moved down in here. By the time we're here, the elk will be in here. I've seen them from across the valley, glassing on this mountain. All of this foliage, by the time we get there, second week in November, is going to be dead and falling off the trees. So we'll have a lot more visibility into these pines and firs. Just one of the areas we were taking a look at to see what we could find. You can see tracks, quite a few tracks, and we found an elk wallow that was, pretty much dried up, so they weren't using it anymore, but they had been using it earlier in the summer. There's still some tracks in the mud, old tracks, of course, 'cause it's been a while since there was any mud. But they've been around. And this is one of those areas that you had to hike a long ways. It took about 45 minutes to get to here, to get to this point. All uphill. Gradual uphill, but all uphill. So you got to be wanting to go here. But as you can see, from this backside of the mountain, there's a whole nother world that opens up. And for 15 years, we'd never even been over and looked at. One more spot to put on the list. But right up at the top, you can see now we're looking back across the valley, and you can see there's miles and miles of Colorado out there. A lot of places for elk to hide, a lot of places for them to graze in the wintertime. They migrate out of the mountains down into these valleys in the winter, and then we try to catch them in between. When we get on top, at the very top of this mountain, looking at Google Earth and at Colorado Hunting Atlas, I saw this pond. So I wanted to go check it out. Well, it was dried out, but you can see that they were using it. You can see where they were wallowing in it, stomping all around in it. So the elk have been frequenting this spot right here. Of course, the water is not typically a shortage. There's streams running all the time, ponds all over the place. But this one was up at the very top of the mountain, hidden back in the trees, really, really remote to get to. It took over an hour to get of steady walking to get to this pond. As you can see, the elk have been using it this summer. And just another area to look at in a big meadow. And of course, driving around, exploring up around Wolf Creek Pass, we run across some deer. Yeah, a little young buck and a doe. Nice to look at. Nothing to get too excited about, but fun to see. There you go. You can see the young buck, probably first set of antlers. What? Like I said, lots of deer in this country. Always has been. And I've seen some real wall hangers. I got a cow elk tag this year, so they're not really on my list. We went up high one day just to check it out. Those peaks up there close to 12, a little over 12,000. We're about around 11,000 where we're at right here. Now this is great. It was the beginning of bow season, so there were a lot of bow hunters up at the end of the trail. We left them alone. We didn't walk in on anybody. We stayed out of their way. They migrate from here and down through these valleys. You can see water's not really a shortage. Every little low spot has a stream running through it. It's just animals finding water close to feed and shelter. You can put all that together. And then find a place for feed, shelter, and water, away from the roads and all them other hunters, and you've got yourself a winner. I found some more deer. I shimmed through the oak brush right there. And again, when we're hunting, this oak brush, all the leaves have already died and fallen off, so it's a lot easier to see animals moving through it. But it's a doe and two yearling, two fawns, whatever you want to call them. We call them yearling down here because we talk funny in Texas. Yeah, we took a little drive up to Piedra River Valley, north of Pagosa, north and west of Pagosa. Beautiful country. Again, lots to look at. Miles and miles of country, and plenty of public land up in this end. A lot of outfitters work up in this Piedra River Valley. So you can see plenty of water in the country. So, and there's Master Tater taking pictures. And look, and then down, if you're looking around, there's always all kinds of wildlife. And way down on the rocks down there, way down on that rock, is a marmot. He laying there in the sun, enjoying the sunshine. And we hike back in close to the South San Juan Wilderness area. Right, there's a strip of land between the wilderness and some private property, and that up there in those peaks is the South San Juan Wilderness. And saw some a lot of deer sign. Heard one bugle. Found several ponds back in this country between the wilderness and the private properties of big open meadows, grazing cattle and stuff, and down along the river. And those elk run down in there during the winter. A lot of groceries and protection, but they need that cover to bed down in. And then here's some deer. Again, more mule deer, lots and lots of deer in this country. In the areas we're scouting, the areas we're going to be hunting, there's more deer there now than any elk, because the elk are still up pretty high this time of the year. Well, there's a few more deers. And there was another part of the territory, about a mile and a half to walk back into this area. We could spot these meadows on Google Earth and on Colorado Hunting Atlas, and we decided to hike in and check them out. You can see there's been a lot of deer sign. There's been a buck in there rubbing trees. And it's right on the migration route for these elk. It's a good spot for them to take a break and get something to eat when they're migrating through. Found a lot of sign. As you can see, one's been working the trees over pretty good. Those are some of the things you can find when you're on the ground. You can't find rubs, you can't find tracks, you can't find whether the water hole holds water or is just dry, unless you get your boots on the ground. E-scouting is great for narrowing down your choices, but then nothing beats getting out there in person and checking it out. And there he points out, over here, that deer right there on the right hand side. You can just see her under the bushes. And her friend is walked into the trees. We can't see her, but there she is. Another deer, lots of deer again. So if you had a good time, saw some really good country, found a few more spots we want to hunt now, and we're ready to go. We're in the big process of planning and packing and cooking and loading and getting all the gear together, and we should be headed up 3rd Rifle, Southwest Colorado. Stop by. Maybe we'll see you in the woods.